A massive $450,000 bonus shrank to $4,500. Zhang Shengbin stares at his payslip.
He asks his wife Lu Ruyan if she missed a couple of zeros. As the prestigious hospital director, she does not even look up. She just coldly dismisses him, saying the hospital is struggling, and as her husband, he should be more understanding. He lets out a bitter laugh and slides the payslip right back across her desk.
Honestly, that is just toxic. Like, because they are married, he's the one who gets completely ripped off?
She finally looks up, her face twisted in pure annoyance as she snaps his name, Zhang Shengbin. "Stop overreacting," she says, which absolutely blows his mind.
He points directly at those insulting numbers, asking how many surgeries he ran this year. Does she have no clue at all? Her voice only drops a few degrees colder.
She flatly tells him the hospital runs fine without him, and the entire room suddenly goes dead silent. Looking at his own wife, he realizes how heartless she really is. This woman is actual trash, guys. Just like that, she wiped out 3 whole years of his blood, sweat, and absolute dedication.
But right in the middle of this tense standoff, the desk phone starts ringing.
It is an emergency. She snatches the receiver and her face immediately drains of all color.
Right now? Prepare for the surgery immediately. She slams the phone down. She locks her intensely pressuring gaze directly onto Zhang Shengbin.
Shengbin, this is a highly complex surgery, and you are the only surgeon in the building who can pull it off.
He just stares at her while her insulting words from moments ago still echo in the room. Didn't she just say the hospital runs fine without him? He lets out a silent, mocking laugh. Then go find someone else, he tells her, leaving her utterly frozen.
She asks what he means, but he is already standing up and walking away without looking back. He is not taking this case. He stares hard at that insulting payslip on the desk. His fingertips go numb with anger. 450,000 cut down to 4,500. Those numbers are a straight-up slap in the face, rounded down so perfectly it feels intentional.
It is incredibly painful to look at. He folds the slip in half, then flattens it out again.
He checks the numbers over and over, hoping his eyes are just playing tricks on him. But the harsh reality is right there on paper. Year-end bonus, exactly 4,500. He laughs out loud from pure rage inside the tightly sealed office. The silence is heavy, broken only by the low hum of the air conditioner. His wife, Liu Ruyan, sits behind her massive desk, completely buried in her paperwork. Without even glancing up, she calmly mentions the hospital's budget was tight this year. She tells him he needs to be more understanding, her voice completely flat, as if she is just complaining about some boring lunch at the cafeteria. He stares at her blankly, his mind suddenly going numb with disbelief. This cold woman sitting right in front of him is supposed to be his wife. She also happens to be the top boss of this elite hospital. 3 years ago, when she finally secured the director position she always wanted, he was the one who worked tirelessly in the shadows, and she made a beautiful promise back then. She swore that once she was secure at the top, she would reward his loyalty. Well, she certainly did not forget him, but things took a toxic turn. That promised reward was replaced by pure disrespect. He flattens the payslip right on her desk. He tells her in a low voice that his surgical workload last year was the highest in the entire hospital. He handled the most complex cases, and only then does she finally bother to look up. Her eyes are filled with absolute irritation as she scoffs, asking him, "So what? Do you really think this entire hospital will stop running just because you are not here?" Shengbin takes a deep breath and quietly nods. She asks how much the others were paid. He frowns and snaps back, asking why she cares. Actually, she already knows the exact numbers of the others. They got over 200,000, absolutely insane. She kept quiet because she knew he would just lie. His favorite excuse is always that they are family. For 3 years, she heard that line. Every single time, she was forced to swallow all of her pride. She used to think she should compromise for their marriage. But right now, she is finally waking up to reality. To him, family just means she is the cheapest option. Someone he can easily exploit, and she remains completely silent. His tone softens, telling Shengbin to stop being stubborn. He claims the hospital is under financial pressure and he has no choice. But meanwhile, his hands are already flipping back through documents. In his mind, this whole matter is already settled. It is honestly laughable how she works day and night in surgery. Yet he erases all her hard work with one pen stroke.
The tension is suffocating, and she is ready to strike back.
Suddenly, the desk phone starts ringing off the hook. It is the emergency room, and Liu Ruyan answers immediately. His expression completely changes as he asks what happened. Standing up, he keeps his voice incredibly low. He sounds anxious hearing about the brain bleed.
He asks where it is and promises to hurry.
Hanging up the phone, his cold arrogance completely vanishes. Now he looks visibly panicked and turns to stare at her. A VIP patient just got rushed into the emergency room. The higher-ups warned him, but she stays completely still. He pauses, and for the first time, he actually begs. Shengbin, you are the only one who can do this. Only she can pull off a high-stakes craniotomy.
He used to say that with genuine trust outside surgery, but now, standing in his office, he is just giving her unquestionable commands.
She just stares with zero response. Thinking she is calculating the risks, he adds that it is urgent. No one else can handle this, and he is not lying. She has easily done over 20 of these difficult surgeries. Her success rate is unmatched. She is built different. That is why he always dumps the hardest cases on her. Instead, she only remembers that insulting salary slip from earlier.
4,500, she smiles in disbelief.
He frowns, demanding to know why she is laughing. She calmly asks him what he said, telling him the hospital does not just run on one person, making the director freeze up. He calmly slides his payslip right across the desk. Since that is the case, he tells the guy to go find someone else for the surgery. The room goes completely quiet as the boss glares at him. It is like the guy cannot even process what he just heard, while Shengbin slowly stands up. He coldly states he is not doing it, and the boss's face instantly drops. The boss asks what kind of tantrum he is throwing, but Shengbin says this is no tantrum. It is his final decision. The boss can only stare. The room gets ice cold as the director asks if he even knows this patient's background. He asks what it represents, but our main character stays completely silent.
The director lowers his voice, warning him that if this operation gets ruined,
that means the whole hospital will suffer, but Shengbin just nods calmly. He says that is even more reason to go find a surgeon he actually trusts. The director freezes, picking up on a massive shift in Shengbin's attitude. He demands to know what the doctor actually means by this. No way he is going to explain. Some things are just better left unsaid. The director always assumed Shengbin could never survive without his support. He thought that because he controlled the promotions, Shengbin would just bow down. But he forgot one thing. Our main character is literally built different. He built his reputation on pure skill, not favor. Shengbin heads for the door. The director screams out, warning him that if he dares step out of that room. But before the threat is even finished, Shengbin already opens the door. The break corridor lights hit him as busy doctors and nurses rush past. He takes one final look back at the director, standing completely alone. The guy looks incredibly pale, with deep hesitation in his eyes. Shengbin does not hesitate and tells him to go find someone else. The door clicks shut behind him, not with a bang, but with finality. It signals the absolute end of their relationship as he walks away. The massive weight on his chest is gone, leaving him feeling incredibly relieved. This is not just a breath of fresh air, it is a line in the sand. Talk about a point of no return, this changes everything for him. There is absolutely no turning back now, and the very next morning, he walks into the department and immediately feels the tense atmosphere. The front desk is dead silent, and the nurses only give him quick, nervous looks. They quickly look away. Meanwhile, Shengbin just changes into his lab coat. Before he can even sit down, Chief Li Jiangguo storms out with a furious face. He demands Shengbin to follow him inside, his voice stiff as a board. Our guy follows him in, and the second the door closes, the chief slams a pile of documents onto his desk in absolute rage. Gossip has already spread everywhere, but Shengbin stays completely quiet. Chief Li Jiangguo glares at him, clearly about to blow a fuse. He yells, asking if Shengbin even understands the consequences of refusing this surgery. Shengbin sits down calmly, saying he knows, which makes the chief even madder. The chief growls that this was a VIP patient under major watch. Higher-ups are watching this closely, but our main character just stares right back. Keeping his cool, Shengbin points out he isn't the only surgeon available. Li Jianguo scoffs. He mocks him for suddenly bringing up professional principles now of all times. Shengbin doesn't bother defending himself, knowing Li Jianguo has played the director game for years. The guy senses any shift in the wind instantly. Right and wrong mean nothing to him. All he actually cares about is whether Shengbin's mess is going to splash onto him. The dean is absolutely furious about this mess, warning him to prepare a highly convincing excuse. Frowning, Shengbin fires back. What exactly is he supposed to say? An explanation about his professional attitude, Li replies, and Shengbin just calmly nods. Then I will write it on time, Shengbin says. Li is stunned. Honestly, Li probably never expected him to stand his ground with this much quiet confidence. Li asks if he really has zero explanation, but Shengbin knows excuses change nothing. Shengbin replies flatly, prompting Li to stare him down for several long seconds. It is like he is re-evaluating him, because the old Shengbin would never act this resolute. No way he'd be this defiant before. Li lets out a heavy sigh. His voice finally softens slightly. Don't be a fool, Shengbin. The hospital is actively grooming him right now, so he shouldn't ruin everything over a heated moment. He shouldn't throw his career away. Shengbin immediately stands up. Shengbin declares he knows exactly what he is doing, then turns around and walks out. Behind him, Li grits his teeth, snapping that this is a direct challenge to the dean. Shengbin ignores him. He walks straight out of the office. Over at the nurse's station, all the hushed gossiping instantly cuts off the moment he appears. He is honestly used to this hostile, toxic vibe, but this time around, he doesn't care. He doesn't even care. He wraps up his ward rounds without another word. Just then, his phone buzzes with a mass notification from the administration department. 3 p.m., time for the mandatory middle management meeting. Shengbin glances at the screen. Nothing seems off. But the second he walks into the conference room, he realizes today's vibe is completely different. Every single department head is present, with Dean Lu Ruyan sitting right at the head. She looks incredibly tense and cold, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Her gaze lands on Shengbin. A split second later, she looks away. Once the meeting starts, she runs through some standard administrative updates first. But then she completely pivots. The emergency from last night is brought up. Everyone has heard about it. The entire room goes dead silent. Even though she doesn't drop any names, every single doctor in the room knows. They all know exactly who she's targeting, someone who deserted right when things got tough. Her voice isn't loud, yet it cuts through the room like a knife. She declares that this total lack of accountability is something the hospital will never tolerate. All eyes shift to Shengbin, but he doesn't flinch. He keeps his face completely relaxed as she continues to lay down the law. She coldly states that a hospital is not a playground for venting personal emotions. Doctors can have their opinions, but they cannot disrupt the hospital's entire operation. At this point, it is basically a public execution. Li Jianguo nudges him from the side, silently begging Shengbin to just take the offered exit. But he stays dead silent, prompting Liu Ruyan to shoot him another sharp look. Her eyes carry a deep threat. Still, she doesn't name him. No warnings, they just straight up announce his punishment. Effective immediately, he is suspended from all major surgeries. Future transfers are now up to the department. Brutal. The room goes dead silent. This completely kicks him out of the medical inner circle. Everyone stays quiet. Our guy just stares at the desk, gently tapping his knuckles. The director is being incredibly ruthless. They are not giving him a way out. They want him ruined. The meeting dismisses and the crowd pours out. Some colleagues avoid him like the plague, while others watch suspiciously. As he walks down the corridor, someone calls out, "Dr. Zhang!" He stops and turns to see Sister Zhou from finance. She looks incredibly anxious, waiting right around the corner. Whispering, she warns him to watch his back during this crazy time. He calmly asks what is wrong, and she quickly scans the hallway. Seeing that nobody is around, she leans in and whispers, The hospital just rushed through a massive reserve fund with zero delay. His eye twitches. He asks how much, and she hesitates. She holds up 3 fingers. 3 million. He already knows. He does not ask more. She warns him she hasn't told anyone. She quickly slips away, leaving our guy standing there in silence. Suddenly, all the scattered puzzle pieces in his mind click together perfectly. Yesterday, he rejects that sketchy surgery, and today they publicly strip his rights. At the exact same time, $3 million gets wired out of the accounts. The absolute precision of these moves is honestly terrifying. It is a highly calculated chess move. He heads straight back to his office, locks the door. His fingers fly. As a senior associate director, he still has access to the department's financial logs. He scrolls down. There it is, a massive payout labeled as a specialist tech acquisition fund. The money was processed late last night. Sneaky. He stares at the timestamp on the screen. He just scoffs. Liu Ruyan is moving incredibly fast here. She likely signed off on this while he was leaving her office. Unreal. A $3 million check, signed right under his nose. He leans back in his chair. That is when a name buried deep in his memories starts to resurface. Yu Qingyun, a name he had not thought about in years. But he never forgot him. He was Liu Ruyan's star senior back in med school. Back then, those two were completely inseparable. Everyone knew it. The gossip filled the hallways until that guy suddenly left for America. Only after he was gone did she finally accept Zhang's feelings. She never explained that relationship, and he never asked, trying to keep his dignity. He just did not want to face the harsh truth back then. No one likes a reality check. Suddenly, his office door swings wide open. Director Lai walks in with a dark face, immediately bringing up Shengbing's attitude at the meeting. It was way too reckless, he says, scolding him the second he opens his mouth. Shengbing just raises an eyebrow, asking if the director is here to lecture him. Li sighs heavily, warning him that the director's patience is wearing thin and he's in serious danger. Don't keep pushing back, he warns, but Shengbing just chuckles. He says he didn't defy anyone, but Li shoots back asking about yesterday. Shengbing simply claims he rejected an unreasonable administrative order. That completely shuts Ling up, and he just stares at Shengbing's face. He's trying to figure out where Shengbing gets his crazy confidence, but finds absolutely nothing. After a tense silence, the director quickly changes the subject. He asks if he's heard about that massive expert fee, and Shengbing calmly nods. Whispering, Li reveals that the hospital chief, Liu Ruyan, is planning to drop insane cash. She is bringing in an outside expert for the surgery, and Shengbing asks who it'll be. The director shakes his head, saying he's not sure, but in their field, only a tiny handful of people can demand such a sky-high fee. Shengbing stays silent. Honestly, Shengbing already knows exactly who it is, but he doesn't say a word. Seeing this, Li begs him again to just swallow his pride and bow his head. Once the storm passes, they can move on, but Shengbing just stands up. He slowly and calmly straightens the collar of his neat white coat. He tells the director that he's already bowed his head to her for 3 whole years. The director freezes on the spot, his mouth hanging open without a single word to say. Walking over to the window, Shengbing looks down at the endless traffic outside the hospital. The flashing red light of the emergency room has witnessed countless sleepless nights of his hard work. But it also drained every ounce of warmth and trust he ever had for Liu Ruyan. Nah, that's insane. She actually spent $3 million just to bring back her absolute favorite person. At this exact moment, any last bit of hesitation in his heart completely vanishes. She isn't trying to resolve a medical crisis here. She is actually using this opportunity to completely erase Shengbing, treating him like a useless substitute to be wiped from her life. For a whole week, the patient's condition deteriorates rapidly, exactly as he predicted. Every time Shengbing passes by the ICU during rounds, he can feel the heat. The security guards at the door glare at him, making sure he can't access any data. But even with just a few leaked details, he knows the patient's intracranial pressure is skyrocketing. The risk of a fatal hemorrhage is critical, and time has become their biggest luxury. And trust me, the longer they wait, the higher the chance of total collapse on the operating table. Yet Shengbin keeps his mouth shut while a tense, suffocating silence fills the department. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the storm. Finally, on Friday morning, an emergency hospital-wide consultation notice is delivered directly to everyone.
Scheduled for 3 p.m., meaning the savior Liu Ruyan was waiting for has finally arrived.
The atmosphere in the meeting hall is heavier than any discussion they've ever had. With elite doctors packed tightly inside, Shengbin sits quietly in the very back corner. Li Jiangguo occasionally glances back at him, clearly wanting to say something but hesitating. A moment later, the heavy conference room doors are pushed open by 2 assistants. Liu Ruyan walks in looking incredibly sharp, wearing a tailored dark gray business suit. The look makes her seem colder and more powerful than ever, and she doesn't even sit. Instead, he just scans the room with this smug, victorious look on his face. Liu Ruyan announces that because this case is so rare, the top-tier expert she invited has just arrived.
Right on cue, heavy, confident footsteps start echoing down the hallway.
The doors swing open as those expensive dress shoes click rhythmically against the floor.
A 40-year-old man walks in, absolutely dripping with main character energy. Dressed in a sharp suit, this guy radiates pure academic elite vibes. He has this insane arrogance from years at the top, and without even speaking, he literally suffocates the entire room. Say hello to the prestigious Yu Qingyun. Seeing this familiar face in person, our main character actually stays surprisingly calm instead of getting mad. He realizes Yu Qingyun seems much colder and more calculative than before. He is basically a wolf in sheep's clothing, a predator playing the part of a gentleman. Even the mighty director Liu Ruyan completely drops her boss act and takes a step forward. She eagerly rushes over to greet him, calling him senior brother. Her voice has this soft, relieved tone that our MC has literally never heard from her before. Whispers immediately break out across the room, because that is a pretty intimate title. But Liu Ruyan does not even care. Yu Qingyun just gives her a slight nod. When their eyes meet, you can instantly feel a level of trust no one else can touch. He gets straight to the point, claiming he already reviewed the patient's scans on the way here. The guy is so dismissive and direct, acting like he already owns the entire place. Then Liu Ruyan does the unthinkable, stepping aside to give him the main power seat. She tells him that all the medical records and scans are completely ready for him. This shift in her attitude is wild and honestly pretty embarrassing to watch. She is not the ruthless director anymore. She is acting like his loyal little assistant. Yu Qingyun does not even hesitate, taking the seat and getting straight to work. He tosses the folder down and demands the latest scans from the past 30 minutes. The screen lights up, showing the insanely complex brain vessels and a massive, ugly hematoma. He barely glances at it before he starts barking out orders like he is some god. The bleeding is deep and the pressure is critical. He mocks them, saying their decision to delay this long was incredibly cowardly. He speaks with so much arrogance that absolutely nobody in the room dares to talk back. His plan is simple, a direct frontotemporal approach to get right in there. Forcefully clear out the hematoma and stop the bleeding at the exact same time. He uses the stylus to draw a sharp, aggressive line right across the screen. He points out the entry path, but our MC stares at that red line with concern. Our guy frowns hard. Sure, that path is the fastest way to get in, but it literally grazes the main artery, yet the crowd is already sucking up to him. They are all chanting how brilliant Professor Yu is and calling his plan flawless. Everyone instantly jumps on his bandwagon, promising to support his bold move. They are all desperate to look good in front of the director and her fancy expert. Meanwhile, our boy is just sitting in the shadows watching this clown show unfold. Then he coldly drops a single word. Wait. Instantly, the entire room goes dead silent. Yu Qingyun glares through the crowd, looking down at our MC like he is just some prey. But our guy just stands up, walking right up to the screen under everyone's eyes. He points right at the red line, warning them about a massive vascular malformation risk. If they nick it during dissection, the entire surgery is going to end in disaster. Our MC stays calm, laying down the brutal facts of the surgery. No panic, just straight facts. The patient is on the verge of collapsing. Their tolerance is 0, but Yu Qingyun just smirks like he knows better. And who are you? Deputy Director of Neurosurgery Zhang Shengbin asks. Yu Qingyun nods, acting all high and mighty with this fake condescending look.
He claims Dr. Zhang's concerns were already solved in his old research papers.
Talk about pure disrespect. His tone is completely mocking.
But look, we are trying to save a life here, not debate theories. He taps the screen. Hesitating now will only get the patient killed faster. At the end of the day, a surgeon's knife is only as good as their guts. Bro, that one line completely shatters the balance of the whole room.
This is straight-up professional disrespect, but before our MC can even speak,
Liu Ryan shuts it down with a cold voice. Meeting over.
The entire hospital will follow Professor Yu's plan. Prep for surgery immediately.
She does not even look at our MC, her eyes completely locked on Yu Qingyun.
With the plan finalized, the crowd starts to leave. Our MC walks at the very back, but just as he exits,
he catches a glimpse of Liu Ruyan at the end of the hall, whispering with Yu Qingyun.
The warm sunset glows over them as she leans in close.
She has this incredibly soft, gentle smile that she never, ever shows him.
In all the years she lived with our MC, she never looked like that. It is practically non-existent, but around this guy, all her defenses are completely gone, and our MC does not even try to walk over. No point in interrupting this clown show. He just adjusts his cuffs and walks away. Honestly, the very last spark of hope in his heart just went completely cold. The writing is on the wall. There's absolutely no point in asking why. The surgery's set for tomorrow morning, and prep work is already running overnight. Our MC should be running this entire show, but on the official surgery list, his name is completely gone. They did not even leave him the first assistant slot. The text on the page is brutal. Lead surgeon, Yu Qingyun.
The assistants are just two cronies he brought along from his old hospital.
The entire neurosurgery department gets pushed completely to the sidelines. Right into the backup group, Li Jiangua hands him the new schedule.
He looks incredibly conflicted, hesitating for a moment before finally speaking up.
This is a collective decision from upper management. RMC just takes the paper.
He throws it onto his desk. This kind of disrespectful backstabbing is wild. No excuses can save this. His colleague asks if he is still attending pre-op. He asks tentatively, and our MC just looks up. Of course, the final review is set for 8 p.m. sharp. With the outsiders completely taking over, the air in the room is heavy. Yu Qingyun sits right in the center, documents laid out in front of him. Liu Ruan is right by his side, completely obsessed with everything he says. Our MC walks in during the middle of it, but nobody even pauses for him. He just finds a quiet corner and opens up the surgical plan. The medical data and emergency procedures are laid out down to the last detail.
He flips through the proposal. His brow furrows. This plan is way too aggressive.
Especially on the post-removal bleeding control, Yu Qingyun is basically gambling with the patient's brain. He is pushed to his absolute limit, leaving no backup plan. Shengbin doesn't call him out immediately, letting him finish. Then he speaks up. This microvascular structure is highly fragile. It is way worse than the scans show. Instantly, the room goes dead silent. Yu Qingyun freezes. He turns a sharp, icy glare directly at him. Go on with your brilliant insights, Yu sneers. Shengbin steps forward, pointing out key coordinates. The deep vein plexus right here is highly prone to massive hidden bleeding. One bad move during the cleanup, and the surgery spirals into endless hemorrhaging. He suggests setting up a lateral safety channel or adjusting the cleanup sequence. Yu Qingyun stares at the screen for a second, then lets out a condescending scoff. He mockingly praises Shengbin for being meticulous, but then his tone completely flips. Arrogant, condescending. He snaps that in actual surgery, you cannot ruin the entire momentum of the operation over a mere 10% risk. Every single extra minute on that table means the patient's infection risk skyrockets. Still, Shengbin stares back without giving an inch. But if things go out of control halfway, the time lost will be 10 times worse.
There won't even be a second chance, he warns, as the room turns incredibly tense.
The other chiefs look down to avoid the drama, while Liu Ruyan turns her eyes to Shengbin. Talk about toxic! She is looking at him with pure, unfiltered warning and disgust. After a few seconds of heavy silence, Yi Qingyun finally pulls back his gaze. He casually shuts his folder, claiming he has noted all of those concerns. But the plan stays exactly as it is, a final, arrogant decision. Lu Ruyan stands up, coldly ordering everyone to execute the original plan. Everyone files out of the room, leaving Shengbin sitting there, completely alone. His mind is racing, calculating every single disaster that high-risk surgery path could trigger. Zhang Shengbin, Liu Ruyan calls out, standing right in the middle of the empty room. The cold, harsh overhead lights make her face look freezing as she calls his behavior incredibly immature. He stops, looking back to say he is simply doing his duty as a surgeon.
This is not a stage for you to play the hero, she snaps.
This is not a stage for you to play the hero, she snaps. The sheer amount of resources and power tied to this surgery is beyond your imagination. Do not screw things up for me right now, she warns. Honestly, this is wild.
He fires back, asking if making trouble just means pointing out fatal risks.
Her face twists with rage.
He does not even have the qualifications to step foot inside that operating room.
Senior Yu has actual experience, so you just need to watch and shut up.
Hearing her call him Senior Yu with such casual intimacy feels completely wrong.
It hits hard. Still, Shengbin just nods. No more wasting breath. He will not even show up tomorrow. He will not even show up tomorrow. The harsh hallway lights stretch his shadow, leaving him looking completely isolated but absolutely determined. By the time he returns to his so-called home, it is already late at night. The apartment is pitch black as he steps in, preparing to kick off his shoes. Instead, he catches a hushed voice from the balcony, where Liu Ruyan stands with her back to him. Hidden behind the heavy curtains, she's talking to someone on the phone in a low murmur.
The plan is set in stone, she says, and absolutely nobody can overturn it.
She pauses for a moment, a cold smirk creeping onto her face. With a soft laugh, she tells them to relax because everything is going exactly as planned. Once the 3 million yuan clears the accounts, they will discuss their next project in Shenzhen. Our guy completely freezes right in his tracks. That's definitely not a director talking about formulas.
It sounds like two criminals splitting up their loot, or worse, long-lost lovers flirting.
He's never seen Liu Ruyan this incredibly relaxed, not even 3 years ago.
Her tone is happy, light, and full of ruthless, predatory ambition.
A 3 million yuan consultant fee. So that's what this was all about. That massive bribe bought way more than surgery skills. It bought Yu Qingyun's academic connections. Not to mention the dirty, under-the-table deals they'd already worked out. And our main character? He's just an eyesore on their massive chessboard. A pawn that must be cleared away. The surgery officially starts at 8 the next morning. Even though he was completely excluded from the surgery team, he still shows up at the observation room right on time. Through the special glass wall, he can see every single movement down on the operating table. He stays alone in the back, mask and cap on. Standing there like a silent judge, watching under the harsh, blinding white lights below.
Yu Qingyun steps up with effortless, precise movements, his two assistants working in perfect harmony.
Lu Ruyan didn't enter the sterile zone. Instead, she stands on the other side of the observation room. Her hands are clenched tight as she stares at the monitor. The initial incision goes surprisingly smoothly.
Our guy stays dead silent. Honestly, the real danger zones are still ahead.
Once they peel back the membrane and go deeper, that's when things get real. Yu Qingyun's hands slow down because of the incredibly complex web of blood vessels. The microscopic view is projected on the big screen, showing the hematoma being slowly cleared. Everything looks fine at first, and Liu Ruyan's tense shoulders relax just a bit. But exactly 1 hour and 5 minutes into the procedure, everything changes. Disaster strikes. The clean surgical field under the microscope suddenly starts to look messy. A sudden splash of red appears out of nowhere, but Yu Qingyun reacts instantly. He signals his assistant to increase suction and follow up with a hemostatic clamp, temporarily stopping the bleed. But the next second, as he tries to peel away the remaining hematoma, boom! A massive geyser of blood erupts from the exact hidden blind spot our guy warned them about. Blood gushes out, completely blinding their view with a wave of bright red.
The suction machine starts screeching like crazy, but it can't keep up with the endless flood of blood.
For the first time, Yu Qingyun completely panics, blindly trying to clamp the vessel.
But with his view completely blocked, he shifts angles repeatedly and nothing is working. The patient's blood pressure is crashing. The heart rate is skyrocketing. The anesthesiologist's frantic alarms blast through the speakers, echoing through the entire room. It's enough to make your skin crawl. Up in the observation room, all those arrogant praises instantly vanish, replaced by absolute panic and muffled gasps. Li Ruyan's face goes utterly pale, her hands trembling. Her knuckles turn white from clutching her fists so hard. The situation is completely out of control. She can't even speak. She just stares blankly at the screen. Yu Qingyun frantically readjusts his angle, trying to stop the bleeding. It briefly slows down. But within 30 seconds, it starts gushing out again even worse. It is a massive chain reaction. Our main character holds his breath, his mind rapidly running through emergency protocols. If he were operating, he would have secured this zone instead of reacting defensively. But thinking about that now is useless. The surgery is officially spinning out of control. 2 hours later, the patient's vitals start looking seriously abnormal. Blood pressure is dropping fast, and the heart rate is going completely wild.
The anesthesiologist's voice goes sharp. Something is seriously wrong here.
Bleeding intensifies, and everyone in the operating room frantically picks up the pace. They are all desperately racing against the clock, but their rhythm is totally ruined. Sweat pours down Yu Qingyun's face as his assistants start fumbling their moves. The suction pump slips, and blood completely covers their field of view. He freezes for a split second, just a tiny, desperate hesitation. But that pause says it all. Unable to watch any longer, Liu Ruyan takes a tense step forward.
What is the situation now, he asks, in pure panic.
Nobody answers him. Everyone is glued to the monitor. Seconds later, a quiet whisper cracks through. We cannot control this.
Those 4 words hit like a truck, and everyone in the room instantly freezes.
Yu Qingyun stays silent, desperately trying to get back in control. He moves even faster, pushing himself to salvage this disaster. But every desperate move wastes precious seconds, and the bleeding refuses to stop. Instead, it gets worse as the patient's vitals continue to plummet. The anesthesiologist rushes to adjust the meds, sounding more panicked by the second. Our main character stands there silently, but he is low-key sweating bullets. Yet he knows that stepping in at this point won't change anything. They completely missed the golden window. Now, they are just delaying the inevitable.
And then boom, the numbers on the screen take a massive nosedive.
In that exact moment, everyone freezes, realizing exactly how this is ending. Instead of pushing forward, the team quietly starts wrapping things up. It's not a success, it's just over. And man, this silence hits different. The whole vibe has shifted, leaving only the cold beep of the machines. Liu Ruyan just stands there, his face completely drained of color. He keeps staring at the screen, unable to accept what just happened. A few minutes later, the operating room doors finally swing wide open. Yu Qingyun slowly walks out, still wearing his surgical mask. Sweat drips down his face, and his eyes look completely hollow for once. Someone rushes up to ask for an update, but he stays silent. He just rips his gloves off and tosses them heavily into the trash. Liu Ruyan approaches him, his voice shaking as he asks for the outcome. Yu Qingyun looks him dead in the eye, pausing for a heavy moment. The patient has slipped into a deep coma, he finally mutters out. And just like that, the entire hallway falls completely dead silent. The outcome was already written all over their faces as Liu Ruyan staggered back, completely unable to maintain his composure. He grabbed the wall nearby, barely able to keep his balance. Our MC just watched from behind. He stayed quiet. The operating room light was still shining, but that confident vibe of being in control? It was completely gone. The surgery was an absolute disaster, and the very next day, things at the hospital got even worse. The entire hospital felt dead silent.
Way fewer people were chatting, and the busy departments felt incredibly heavy. The VIP patient was still in a deep coma with zero signs of waking up.
Security outside the room was tight, and after our MC finished his morning rounds,
he walked past that floor and spotted 2 total strangers standing guard. And they looked seriously tough. With security like this, you already know they cannot keep this quiet anymore.
At 10, the notice finally went out.
They were launching a special investigation, and everyone had to gather in the admin building. Our MC got called in directly. When he finally arrived, the room was already packed with directors. Even the heads of finance and medical quality control showed up for this. The energy was heavier than ever. Liu Ruyan was sitting at the head table. He looked absolutely terrible, but he still tried his best to keep his back straight. Pure bluffing, of course. He was out of his surgical scrubs and back in a sharp suit.
He seemed to have regained his composure, but his eyes totally lost that confident spark.
Once the meeting kicked off, the medical affairs team started briefing everyone. The patient was in a deep coma, and they were literally on life support. There was severe abnormal bleeding during the surgery, and they needed to find out why. They talked in code, but everyone knew. Then, the surgery video started playing. As the video played frame by frame, our MC sat quietly on the side. Total silence from everyone. When the video hit the critical moment, the tension in the room was actually insane. The exact second the bleeding started on screen, someone in the room gasped. The footage paused, and quality control spoke. He asked if there was a misjudgment here, being incredibly direct about it. Yu Qingyun just crossed his fingers. He calmly claimed that this issue was not visible in the pre-op scans. He brushed it off as a sudden surgical emergency, and the investigator did not immediately push back. Instead, he looked around for other opinions, but nobody dared to speak. They all just looked away. Classic move. Nobody wanted to step up. Our MC stared at the screen, tapping his fingers gently on the table. Then he spoke up. He stood up and walked to the screen, pointing out that this risk was actually discussed. He paused the footage right where the blood vessels were extremely dense. He points out a hidden bleeding risk without even raising his voice. But every word is crystal clear, suggesting they adjust the path or add a backup plan. The room goes dead silent as someone starts frantically flipping through yesterday's meeting notes. Our main character smoothly slides the prepared records over and they grab the paper.
They all crowd around the document, and within seconds, someone nods. Yep, there is definitely a problem here.
Once that is admitted, the whole vibe shifts from an unavoidable accident to a totally predictable disaster. Yu Qingyun's face instantly drops as he glares at him. A risk warning does not guarantee it will actually happen. But the main character just stares right back. If it happened, your backup plan was trash.
Their eyes lock, and the air instantly turns to ice.
Liu Ruyan finally chimes in, saying now is not the time to point fingers. Keeping his voice low, he demands they investigate the issue first. He tries to steer the conversation back, but honestly, it is already way too late. The quality control team keeps pressing if there was an actual warning beforehand. Why was the plan not adjusted? This time, nobody steps up to defend him. All eyes lock onto Yu Qingyun as he goes completely silent. He cautiously defends himself, claiming the team collectively agreed the current plan was best. But nobody is buying it. The meeting relentlessly moves on to the next issue. They start picking apart every single detail of the surgical path. The hemostasis plan and the surgical response are put under a massive microscope. Our lead stays quiet, only stepping in with facts at key moments. Pure cold facts and data, absolutely no emotion needed to dismantle these guys. The evidence is rock solid. 30 minutes later, everything changes. Next, the spotlight shifts to the finance department as they open up a new file. This single surgery cost 3 million yuan for outside experts, making the room go dead silent again. They lay out the raw, unpolished numbers for everyone to see. No shot. The rep suddenly reveals the approval process was highly abnormal. Li Ruyan's fingers tighten on his desk as he glares at the finance rep. What do you mean abnormal? The finance representative calmly flips the page. The approval was pushed through the night before the surgery on an emergency rush. Worse, part of the funds were already transferred. The rep suddenly pauses. We need to know where that money went. Suddenly, the air gets incredibly heavy. Everyone waits in suspense, but Liu Ruyan stays completely quiet.
He scans the documents before slowly looking up at Yu Qingyun.
In that exact fraction of a second, his expression completely breaks.
No longer in control, he hesitates. Meanwhile, Yu Qingyun just sits there. Looking incredibly pale, Yu Qingyun argues that paying experts up front is standard practice. He claims it is just industry norm, but the finance rep is not falling for it.
Prepayment is not the issue here, the rep says, sliding a paper to the center. The real issue is the specific account that received the money. Everyone leans in.
Our main character sneaks a glance. It is definitely not the hospital official account.
It is a personal bank account registered directly under Yu Qingyun's name. The room goes dead silent. Nobody even dares to breathe.
Ain't no way. This is a total game over. He got caught red-handed.
Liu Ruyan's face goes totally pale, staring at the paper in complete disbelief. This can't be possible, he mutters. But no one says a word. The facts are right on the table. No dodging this.
The tech department rep says this needs further investigation, but his tone has already shifted completely. It is not a discussion anymore. It is a verdict, and Shengbin just stands there, perfectly still.
Honestly, he shows zero emotion and just drops the cold facts. He knows the rest will play out on its own. By the time they wrap up, it is almost noon. Everyone silently packs up and leaves. No one dares to say another word to him. The tension in the room is heavy. As Shengbin makes his way toward the exit door, he hears someone whispering behind him, and bro, they know they are in deep trouble now. No pausing, he walks out of the admin building into the blinding sun. Outside, the hospital is running just like normal, with busy doctors, patients, and carts moving everywhere.
But things have completely changed now as Shengbin stands silently on the steps.
Straightening his cuffs, he is fully aware that this whole drama is definitely not going to stop here.
This is actually just the beginning. Right after that intense investigation meeting, the hospital feels like it is on pause, even though everyone is still going through the motions. Everyone is walking on eggshells now, but our guy just goes to work like nothing happened. He is still doing rounds, writing up cases, and scheduling surgeries. The only catch is his name is completely wiped from any major hospital schedules and decisions. Honestly, it does not bother him at all. It actually gives him more free time.
Just wrapping up some personal business that night.
Shengbin calmly places a document right on the table. A divorce agreement. The terms are simple, with all assets split strictly by the book. He is not asking for extra, but he is not taking less either. No dragging things out. Staying together in this dead marriage would just get uglier. Right then, the door opens and his husband walks in. The guy looks absolutely exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and a pale face. His husband spots the papers on the table and stops dead in his tracks. He walks over to flip open the first page, and within seconds, his expression completely drops. Looking up, he demands to know why Shengbin is bringing this up right now. His voice is cracking with pure frustration, but Shengbin just sits calmly on the couch, not even moving. Shengbin looks at him and says now is the perfect time. The husband complains that the hospital is already a mess and asks why he is doing this now. Before he can even finish his sentence, Shengbin cuts him right off.
He says the chaos actually makes things clearer, while the husband grips the paper tight. The husband asks if he is serious, and Shengbin just calmly confirms it without any emotion.
He stares at him, desperately searching for some kind of leverage or way out. Vaguely, he asks if this entire decision is because of that incident.
Shengbin ignores the question.
He calmly tells him he already reviewed the agreement several times, so he should just sign. His husband's breathing gets heavy as he warns Zhang Shengbin not to think this is going to be so simple.
He steps closer, trying to play the emotional card about all their years together.
Claiming they cannot just end it overnight, the husband just stares. Shengbin asks when exactly they should end it, leaving his husband completely speechless as he continues speaking. He reminds him that they are only a couple when he needs surgeries or when money's involved. Now that things are crashing, they are partners again, and his quiet words absolutely slice. His husband's face goes pale as he weakly asks if Shengbin is just settling scores now. She quietly shakes her head. Standing in dead silence, he shifts his tone, claiming the investigation is still ongoing. He tries to de-escalate, begging her to wait until the case is closed. Seeing him plead is a major plot twist.
He never used to lower himself like this, but she just stares back.
Without moving, she asks if he is just worried her departure looks bad. His face instantly freezes.
She nods. All the more reason to sign the papers right now.
Finally losing his cool, he asks if she really must go this far. No response. She just slides the pen right in front of him. It is a quiet move, but he stares at that pen for ages.
Hesitating, he reaches out and pulls back, asking what she will do if he refuses.
He looks up. She stares back.
Then we take legal action, she says, making his breath hitch. He asks why she has to make a scene, but she just stands up.
Coldly, she tells him she is not the one causing drama here.
The room goes dead quiet.
His eyes are a complete mess of pure rage and bitter regret. He is finally realizing that she is completely done playing along with his mind games. He clearly cannot handle this shift. Opening the agreement, he starts flipping through it page by page. He is reading incredibly slowly, obviously trying to stall for time.
She does not rush him, but he completely freezes on the final page.
Resting his finger on the signature line, he suddenly asks where she plans to go. As he looks up, she calmly explains that everything has already been arranged.
He demands to know which hospital, but she only says it is out of town. He intensely studies her face, trying to find any sign of hesitation. But she gives him absolutely nothing. He hesitates for just a second before aggressively signing his name. He presses down so hard the paper is practically ruined. He slams the folder shut and aggressively slides it back to her. Talk about throwing a silent tantrum, but she just checks the signature. Everything is perfect.
As silence falls again, he gets up and walks over to the window.
With his back turned to her, he asks if she will regret this.
She just stares at his back, completely unfazed by his dramatic question.
She says no, leaving him standing there in total silence for ages. Without wasting another second, she grabs her files and leaves him behind. The door clicks shut quietly but firmly, and over the next few days, karma strikes. The official investigation wraps up super fast, and the punishment is absolutely brutal. Boom! Yu Qinyan loses his license. Banned from surgery forever, while Lu Royan is suspended. She is stripped of her director title, with audits starting immediately. The hospital staff goes dead silent. Honestly, nobody is taking their side anymore. The writing on the wall was clear. He begins packing.
His desk is mostly cleared when Li Jianguo stands there watching.
Are you really leaving? Li asks. He just nods.
Li sighs, calling it a clean break, but he stays silent.
Glancing down, Lai asks if his deal with Dean Guo is done. A short yes, and Lai nods without asking more. Some things are already clear. He packs the last file and stands. With his office half empty, he takes one last look back. He spent years in this place, but has zero regrets left. The hallway is unchanged, same old lights. People still hustle past, but some faces are gone forever. He folds his lab coat, leaves it behind, and walks away. His new hospital is smaller, but thank God neurosurgery is drama-free. No toxic clicks and no one trying to crush him. First day there, the chief just asks what surgeries he excels at.
He names a few specialties. A simple nod.
He gets handed a highly difficult case right away.
No build-up, no tests, just direct placement. Sink or swim. Honestly, our boy adapts to this way faster. The operating room lights are just as bright, instruments clinking. The rhythm of the monitors is familiar, but one thing changed. No one breathing down his neck or suddenly hijacking his surgery schedule. Standing as lead surgeon, his hands are steady and perfectly locked in. That long-lost flow state slowly returns as the surgery wraps up. The assistant looks up, their teamwork feeling absolutely seamless. He just nods, keeping it brief. That unspoken vibe beats any praise, and a month flies by. The work pace is intense but simple, focusing only on saving lives. No wasted energy. One afternoon, just as he leaves the OR, his phone buzzes with a text from an old colleague.
The text simply asks if he heard as he dries his hands. He reads it, not replying immediately.
Minutes later, another text comes about Dean Guo. He is hunting for a job elsewhere. He pauses.
His fingers hover, hesitant to text back. He shouldn't care about this anymore, but he still opens it.
No major details, just that Dean Guo applied to several hospitals.
No shot they'd hire him, simple as that. His toxic background ruined him, so our boy pockets his phone.
He doesn't ask more. Someone calls him down the hall.
His next surgery is starting, so he puts the gossip aside.
He steps back inside, operating room lights descending.
All distractions fade away. But halfway through the intense surgery,
A sudden memory flashes in his mind. Not today.
but of Dean Guo standing in his office looking completely hopeless. Back then, our MC spoke so calmly, acting like this massive problem was just some minor annoyance. Looking back, it is crystal clear that he saw every single red flag right from the start. He just figured he had everything completely under control. Once the surgery is done, he steps out of the operating room. His assistant hands over the records, and after signing off, he walks to the very end of the hallway.
Outside, the sky is growing dark as he leans against the wall and pulls out his phone. He gets a text from another colleague named Li Jiangguo. Yu Qingyun is completely finished, and there is no coming back.
He glances at the screen, not surprised at all. This downfall was locked in the second the investigation started. It was always just a matter of time. Li Jiangguo adds that the guy cannot even secure a basic teaching gig anymore. He does not even bother replying, simply slipping his phone back into his pocket. The hospital corridor is buzzing with activity as people push gurneys past him. Everyone is rushing around, keeping up with the fast pace of the hospital. Nobody cares about some fallen rival, so he just stands there in silence for a moment. He heads back to his office, where next week's packed surgery schedule is waiting on his desk. It is a heavy workload, and he flips through the pages. He carefully highlights all the critical cases and starts prepping his medical files. By the time he finally clocks out, night has fully fallen. He steps out of the clinic into the cool night air. A massive city like this means zero familiar faces, and absolutely nobody here knows anything about his past. It is honestly a huge relief as he heads back to his apartment. After hanging up his coat, he spots an unopened package sitting right there on the table. Opening it up, he finds a brand new medical book with a clean, pristine cover. He flips through a few pages, carefully marking down some key medical procedures. It has been forever since he had a quiet moment like this with no annoying phone calls. No sudden emergencies and no last-minute chaotic schedules, just pure, absolute control over his own life. His phone buzzes again, and he casually glances down. It is that same colleague again, texting that someone just spotted Li Ruyan getting turned away by an out-of-town hospital. He stares at those words for a couple of seconds before casually closing the chat screen. No reply, no follow-up questions, just complete and absolute silence. You have to love how he does not even need to gloat, because her karma is already doing all the work. He sets his phone aside and calmly goes back to his reading. Outside, the city lights flicker on, one by one, as the world keeps spinning. None of it matters to him anymore as he simply leans back in his chair. With a crystal clear mind, he silently reflects on every single thing that has happened recently. He plays it all back, piece by piece, and feels absolutely zero regrets. There is absolutely no turning back. But suddenly, quiet footsteps echo right outside his door. The shadow passes by and fades away as he stands up and walks to the window. His reflection stares back in the glass, peaceful, with no drama and no toxic strings attached. Then it hits him. He was never actually waiting around for some dramatic revenge ending. He did not even care to watch them fall. He just wanted to cut the toxic ties clean. The rest will sort itself out naturally. So he reaches over and flicks off the light. The room plunges into darkness with just enough city light filtering in to show his silhouette. This peaceful payoff is so satisfying. But remember, he had to earn it step by painful step. No one gets to dictate his path anymore, and absolutely nobody else defines his worth.
And honestly, nothing matters more than this.